never see it until it's on Hulu in an hour. But
You're a cord cutter.
yeah, I'm one of the original. Back when I was in the film industry, I realized I was going away so often filming on locations that at the time, like this was mid '90s, I was paying $65 a month so my cat could have cable. And
It's important.
yeah, but it just turned into one of those things. I got rid of it and then realized, I don't miss it at all, and I've never had it back since.
All right, we're now live on Alpha Geek Radio and on YouTube. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the intro, and if you can, turn down your microphone. If you can't, no big deal. All right, hitting audio record, turning me down. I'm going to start the intro after I open up the soundboard, which I haven't done yet. All right, here we go. Stand by, everybody. Don't panic. We're about to start. All right, here we go. Very exciting stuff. We're about to start the broadcast. The podcast. The something cast. The netcast. This page opens up. All right, here we go. Let's start. The following is a production of Galactic Netcasts.
Attention! The SciFi Geeks Club is next! Please, stand by.
Live streaming provided by Alpha Geek Radio and Alpha Geek Video. Visit tunein.alphageekradio.com to learn more.
Now, without further ado, hear ye, hear ye! Another meeting of the SciFi Geeks Club is officially called to order!
Hello! Hello! Welcome to another production of Galactic Netcasts. I'm Dave Nelson. Joining me on the panel this week, Brad Ludwig and Matt Stein. Hey, guys.
Hello!
Hello!
I'm excited to be hanging out with Matt again. I miss you, Matt.
I miss you too, but if you're excited to hang out with me, you should probably get out of the house a little more.
And go down the road a little bit.
Yeah, right? We could just meet in the middle. It's not that far.
Yeah. Just as some context to our panelists this week, of course, Matt and Brad have both been with Galactic Netcast the longest of anybody. Matt is currently the host of his own podcast, Podcast of Terror, and Brad is also the host of the Adventure Party podcast and my co-host, along with Vanessa Moynes, on the Alien Invasion podcast. All
Yes,
part
sir.
of the big Galactic Netcast family, and thanks for joining us, guys. Appreciate it.
It's good to be back.
Shall we introduce our guest this week?
Heck yeah!
Okay. Without further ado, our guest is the author of several books, including The Fold, which I have read and loved, the X-Hero series, and many more. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Geeks Club, Peter Clines. Peter, hello.
Hi.
Ooh.
How you doing?
Not bad. How are you guys?
Pretty good.
Very well.
It's a party.
It's a pleasure to have you here, sir. I loved The Fold, and I can't wait to get into the X-Hero series. And we're going to talk about your books a little bit in detail a little bit later on in the podcast. But you've got another one coming out soon, right?
Yeah, little 11 days from now, February the 2nd, the next X-Heroes book drops, Exile.
Oh, wow.
That's
Nice.
going to be, what, the fourth or fifth one?
That'll be the 5th one.
Fifth one.
So,
And just real quick, what is the X-Hero series all about?
really simply put, X-Heroes takes place in a world where there were actual superheroes, like a Marvel Universe, DC Universe sort of world, although not quite as prolific or prevalent superheroes. And then there's a zombie apocalypse, and the superheroes fail to save the world. So this is basically, when the series begins, it's a year later, and the surviving heroes are trying to, help humanity put things back together again.
So if you love the zombie genre and you love the superhero genre, it's the perfect book series for you, right?
Hopefully, yeah.
Heck
If
yeah.
not, I'm doing something wrong.
And I'm hoping that you write a second book in the Fold series, because I loved the Fold, and you kind of left it open for a sequel at the end, right?
Kind of, yeah. There's the Fold actually ties into another book I wrote called 14.
Oh.
They're not really. They're sort of connected. It's more like a same universe thing.
Okay.
If you think of like the Flash and Arrow, there are obvious connections. There are little thin crossovers between them. But they're two separate, distinct things.
Okay.
So, but if you watch both of them, like, you might pick up things going back and forth between them. So,
I think you're going to fit in very well here on this podcast. You're already throwing in Flash and Arrow references. We love that.
I love the Flash.
Same here.
All right, so this is the podcast where we talk about everything sci-fi related, and we start before we start talking about the news, want to thank Alpha Geek Radio for allowing us to stream our audio and video on their network. Thank you, Todd, and thank you everybody over at alphageekradio.com. And don't forget, you can follow us, Galactic Netcasts, and the Sci-Fi Geeks Club on Twitter. You can join our Facebook group or subscribe to our YouTube channel, which we're broadcasting live, streaming live to right now. Just search for Galactic Netcasts, or just go to our website, gncasts.com, and there's the clickable links on the main page to our social networks. So let's get into the sci-fi news of the week, and I have to warn you guys, it's very comic book superhero heavy, and didn't plan it this way. It just happened, and thank God we have somebody like Peter Clines here to discuss this stuff. All right, so on Tuesday, DC unveiled a whole bunch of stuff during a special that was aired on the CW in the States and on CTV and here in Canada, and a lot of stuff dropped, including the first Wonder Woman footage. And what did you guys? I know, Matt. I'm sure that you didn't watch it, right? Just confirm with me that you didn't watch it.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I watched something involving Wonder Woman this week, but I don't remember what it was.
It may have been.
I had a rough week, apparently.
It was.
So
Was Kevin Smith on?
I don't know.
Okay.
What the hell did I do this week?
I would say drank a lot might be part of the answer.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't. The wife was gone, so I didn't.
Oh.
You had no reason to.
It might have just been some of the Batman stuff where she shows up that I saw, but I don't think I saw the proper trailer.
Okay. So.
Or Justice League. I don't know.
Yeah. So they showed the first Wonder Woman footage, and it didn't really. It showed a lot. There was no dialogue, and basically it showed her training on Themyscira. Is that how you pronounce it, Brad?
Yes, it is.
Themyscira. They showed her fighting in World War I, because that's where most of the movie takes place, and it shows her riding a horse. And I was really, really impressed with the footage. I mean, it looked really amazing. Did you, Peter and Brad? Did you guys see this Wonder Woman footage?
Oh,
I
yes.
actually did. You did? Oh. So you guys can talk. It'll be much more interesting. I have to be honest. I have not been a big fan up until also 2 days ago, and I'm sure we'll get to that in a minute. I have not really been a huge fan of any of the DC movie stuff as of late. I think the last thing I really liked was The Dark Knight. And I just think they're going a little too far down the grim dark path with everybody. So I don't know.
Yeah.
When you put out a Suicide Squad trailer and that's the bright, cheerful thing in your universe, the Suicide Squad, that's probably a warning sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least they're well, from the trailer it looks like it's a fun romp, right?
Yeah.
So at least it's not all dark and dreary, right? I mean, there's some joy and happiness and humor to look forward to.
I don't know. I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm really excited for Suicide Squad.
yeah.
Like, real excited, because I think it's going to be fun, but like in a murder your family kind of fun way. Like real sick and twisted upstairs. And so yeah, the trailer makes it look really bright and cheery, but I think it's going to be bright and cheery in the sense where you're insane. And that's what I also have a severe crush on Jared Leto.
He's a handsome man.
Yeah, he is. Even with the silver teeth of Joker.
Yeah, the teeth are creepy as hell.
It works though. It works really well.
I think Suicide Squad's gonna have some really good dialogue. Like it's gonna be like the Avengers, but in the DC, as far as the dialogue goes, right? Because the Avengers are known for really good dialogue in the movies.
Yeah.
That can be attributed to I'm drawing a blank. Brad, help me out.
Joss Whedon.
Joss Whedon. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I think Suicide Squad's going to have a lot of that going on. I like the trailer a lot. Let's just move into that because Brad, do you want to say anything about the Wonder Woman footage?
Yeah, it's going to be a period movie, and it looks like they've done a very good job with what we can see of the costuming, and it's also going to give us a lot more. I think one of the issues that people kind of have with Wonder Woman is they don't understand that she is, for all intents and purposes, a demigod. So she's been around for a long time, and this is going to do a lot to establish, a history and kind of show off the fact that she's a warrior and she's been around a long time.
Now, how does she, okay, so it's because she's a demigod or a type of demigod, that's how she can not age? That's how she looks the same in the 1920s as she does in present day?
I'm using demigod kind of loosely. She's Hippolyta's daughter, but she was formed out of clay and given life by Zeus to her.
Are they still going with that version? I know Wonder Woman's origin has changed like 40, 50 times.
And I don't know if the New 52 has changed that. I kind of lost interest when they rechanged the world again. I stopped. That was the bridge too far for me. But
I read somewhere that they're not going to go with the forming her out of clay origin story, I think.
Okay.
But something like the people of the island willed her to become something. Like they willed her to be a being, sort of. That's
sure.
The description that I heard, sort of. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I could see that.
So all right, so let's move on to Suicide Squad. I like the trailer a lot. They used Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody.
I think it works.
What's that, Matt?
I think it works using Queen.
It works.
Spectacular.
Yeah.
It helps.
Go ahead, Peter.
Sorry, I was going to say it really helps set the tone for it. That it's a song we all associate. I think after Wayne's World, with a little bit of goofiness, a little bit of young fun, and I think the trailer definitely had a lot of that. So.
Yep. It showed basically it showed they showed Amanda Waller meeting with whoever she's meeting with at that restaurant that they showed in the teaser trailer originally, but then they kind of continued it, expanded it a little bit, and showed each of the Suicide Squad getting out or being taken out of their imprisonment wherever they were imprisoned and put together as the Suicide Squad. And they have a handler of some kind, Brad, right? There's a
it's Rick Flag.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know much about Suicide Squad. I've never read any of the Suicide Squad. The only thing I know about the Suicide Squad basically is from what I've heard about the movie.
Yeah, I read Suicide Squad stuff in the 80s after After Crisis on Infinite Earths, they eventually did a Suicide Squad book at that time, and that's the one that I got into.
It was right after the Legends book that John Byrne did, wasn't it?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
He did, because I think they sort of tentatively brought it back in that. I'm trying to remember too, and then I think that spun off the new series.
Okay. And you know that, yeah, because in Legends was like G. Gordon Godfrey coming to Earth and screwing things up.
Yeah, talk show host or something, and messing with everything.
Yep.
And it introduced Captain Marvel into the DC universe, and somebody else. I think actually wasn't how they tie in here. I think that was when they reintroduced Wonder Woman into the post-crisis world. I think. Yeah.
Well, that.
It was that weird period where we're sort of rewriting origins as we go.
Yeah, that would kind of make sense because they basically restarted Batman and Superman at that time, so that they weren't super old. They were just kind of newer on the scene, and then that was George. Oh God, he's done Wonder Woman off and on for so long. George
Perez.
Yes, George Perez. Yeah, I collected Wonder Woman after they rebooted it for quite some time. Because he was an amazing artist and an amazing storyteller, so it was well worth picking up.
Now, of the original Suicide Squad, the characters in the movie, does it match up with the original Suicide Squad, or have they changed it a little bit?
They changed it a little bit. Bronze Tiger was on the original team. Harley Quinn wasn't even around at that time.
Yeah, she was she was from the animated series, right? Batman.
Yeah. Paul Dini created her. And I don't think El Diablo was on the team at that time.
No,
first started.
I don't think so.
Captain Boomerang, Deadshot.
Bronze Tiger. Enchantress was.
Yep.
He was on the original team. I don't remember who else. Killer Croc wasn't.
No,
But then again, it was Suicide Squad, so they had a rotating roster quite a bit.
Yeah, yep. I know.
Didn't they like in like one of their first issues they blew off like Captain Boomerang's arm or something like that? Or was it him or somebody else? Crap. Or he convinced somebody else.
Well, I think too, the whole concept of Suicide Squad, for those who aren't in the know, is these are all bad guys. They are expendable, and the federal government, in exchange for reduced sentence time, because I think they're in Belle Reve, they are asked. Well, they're not asked. They're kind of pressed into service for the federal government to do these impossible missions. And I think in that first arc of the story, there is a villain that either gets killed or gets like seriously injured and thought dead, and then they come back later.
It might be Slipknot. I'm not. I just remember that in the original one, the whole thing was they all had the exploding bracelets.
Yeah. Yep.
So if they took off and got too far away from Rick Flag, they'd like lose an arm. And Captain Boomerang convinces one of the other guys that, oh, you know, it's a gimmick, it's a fake. They wouldn't really do this to us. And the guy takes off, and then like 5 minutes later, you just sort of hear this like off camera, and Captain Boomerang's like, oh, guess they're real. Okay.
It's funny. I wonder if they're going to use that in the movie, that plot device.
Maybe. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how do they keep all these people in line, since I mean, you figure they've got that great shot of the guys like massing up to go into Will Smith's Deadshot's prison cell, and there's like 10 guys with combat shields, and they're all psyching themselves out to open the door, and so it's like, all right, so if he's that dangerous, without any of his gear or weapons or anything.
Yeah.
And you're going to give him everything and set him loose. You've got to have something to keep him in line.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
The Suicide Squad existed in the Silver Age, but they brought them back in 1987 with John Ostrander. Yeah, it was during the Legends crossover event. You're exactly right there. It lasted for 66 issues.
Win for Peter.
Okay. Oh, Nightshade. That's the other person who was on the original team. They go up against the Jihad of Kurak, which let's see. Mind-boggler. Okay, that was a character on the team.
Yeah, sometimes I really doubt the logic behind some of them.
Oh God, yeah, Mind-boggler. Oh, she had a costume that like a punk rock costume, and she had a mohawk, and she had psychic capabilities, and they killed her off. That's how that went. Okay. Yeah.
It was a great device for weeding out a lot of the lesser DC villains.
The crappy ones, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our final edition in the DC news of the week, and that is Geoff Johns confirmed during that same special that aired on the CW that the Green Lantern Corps will be joining the Justice League universe. And Brad, before we started the show, your feelings were like they're adding too many people to this.
Yeah, I think we were having I was having a discussion with Corey Scott from Else Nerds in the Galactic Netcast group page about that, and the argument was made that, well, they had a lot of characters in Avengers. Yes, they did, but each of the characters, the vast majority of the characters we already had a movie with, had a backstory, and they introduced 3 new characters. With what they're doing here, we've never had an Aquaman film. We've never, we haven't had a Wonder Woman film at this point. We had a failed Green Lantern movie, which was very unfortunate. And
now it doesn't even tie into this, right?
No, they're going to do something completely different, and Ryan Reynolds is completely out. So we haven't really had a good deal of background for some of the other characters that they're throwing in here. But by God, they're going to do it. And there's so much going on in the trailer that we've seen. We've got what looks like Doomsday in this film already, and we've got all sorts of things going on. And it just, unless that movie's like 4 hours, I think it's going to get weird.
So what you're worried about is when they finally do the Justice League movie, that they're going to spend too much time, or they're not going to be able to spend enough time establishing the characters, right?
Correct.
Okay. Because they also showed for the first time the DCU version of The Flash, and they showed Jason Momoa as Aquaman and Cyborg, right? Cyborg, the other. Okay. So.
Which, they're very, very interesting characters, and have them just go, hey, here you go. That never ends well.
Yeah.
It feels like a waste, because you have these characters that as a fan, if you're a fan, you're invested in them and you want to see them done right. And if you're not a fan, you have no idea who they are. So it's kind of this pointless character in the non-fan's mind of, you just put this guy in here for 5 minutes to sort of wave and go, look, pulse gun. Duh.
But who knows, too? I mean, if it's written well, and if it's directed and produced and all that, if the movie's put together well, it may work.
Yeah, I keep thinking about the Joel Schumacher principle. You know, there's a way to do it right, and Joss Whedon has a great deal of experience doing large ensemble casts and making sure that the relationships are well developed, the dialogue includes the vast majority of the people, and there's something for everybody to do.
Hmm.
And we haven't really seen anybody do that successfully in a comic book film,
They also
other than him, really.
they also do that very well with the Star Trek films, the rebooted Star Trek films. They didn't do it so well with the original cast or Next Generation even. Was very heavy on the main characters like Kirk, Picard, Spock, those characters, McCoy. But the rebooted Star Trek does the ensemble pretty good as well. So maybe Hollywood's learning. Maybe they're getting better at it. Who knows?
And they really need to, because they're trying to do these shared universe projects, and to do that you need to tie people together, and if you don't have a good idea of how to write dialogue for a large ensemble cast, you're kind of hosed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on from one company to another company, Marvel. And the real reason we haven't seen Spider-Man and Captain America Civil War promotional materials yet, an extensive Q&A with Collider, the Russo brothers, they're the ones directing Captain America Civil War. They directed Captain America the Winter Soldier, and they do it really, they do a great job. And they discuss and jokingly claim that Spider-Man's appearance won't be unveiled until the day the film comes out. In fact, they say the real reason Spider-Man has yet to be revealed is partially because of the long-reaching deal that brought Marvel and Sony together. And this is a quote from them. Part of the reasons of what was so secretive was the deals were always lagging slightly behind how we were using the character. We were always in danger of upsetting the deal, and there were still sensitive issues going on between the two studios that they needed to agree upon. So the reason we still won't talk about the costume is that Marvel and Sony still have to work out what uses they have for the character on a promotional level, on a commercial level. There's still complications as far as that goes that involves business deals. So,
Gosh, you would think they would have had that done by now.
Yeah, you'd think. Because the movie comes out in 3 months or less than.
Yeah, but that's also something they can hold of, like, if you think about it with any sort of deal, there's the level of we can move forward with stuff now, because obviously if they waited until everything was hashed out, then they might not have even started filming Civil War yet.
That's true, but you'd think that they would have, if the movie's going to happen, if they're going to do marketing, if they're going to make toys, if they're going to do all these things, you'd think they wouldn't have screwed around this long and dried the ink on everything. It just seems a little ridiculous, and I don't understand deals of that nature. I will be upfront on that, but it just doesn't. It seems counterintuitive.
I don't know. I guess I'm too used to Hollywood. It actually makes total sense.
Sure, and you have an entirely different perspective, especially being a writer.
I'm not
dealing
saying
with rights
it's a
and
smart
things like
thing or anything, but I can totally see how it would happen that way.
Sure.
That, it just turns into we'll hammer this out, and yeah, it might mean, I think the way probably, again, and I'm guessing here, I don't have any hidden insight that, past what you've already been saying, but I would guess that the studios probably moved ahead, saying, all right, we've made this much of the deal enough so we can go ahead, we can make Civil War, we can include Spider-Man, but then they're stuck holding back on so many things, and I bet in the long run, probably both studios are willing to say, all right, yes, we might not get any Spider-Man merchandise for Civil War, or if we do, it'll be very late merchandise. But by the same token, we're also thinking further down the line that there's going to be a Spider-Man movie and another Spider-Man movie, and he's probably going to show up in the Avengers, and he'll probably show up, who knows where. So I think they're really looking at this as it's such a gigantic deal. And I'd also bet they're really cautious just because the deal is so specifically tied to the Spider-Man that Sony got the rights for.
Sure.
And so there's probably a lot, or the version of Spider-Man that Sony got the rights for. So there's probably going to be a lot of dancing around. You know, I know people have said they'd love to see Miles Morales, that they'd love to see things like that. But again, not have anything, I bet it's never going to happen. Just because the minute Marvel does that, they're now making deals for a Spider-Man character that doesn't involve Sony. So Sony has just become irrelevant, which means Sony won't allow that. So, yeah. So, I don't know.
I actually.
That's me prattling on.
No.
No,
It's very good insight. Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, I'd almost prefer not to see Spider-Man in the trailers. You know, because that's the one thing that they, you know, you have to have some things saved for the movie, right? And I think that would be the one thing that you'd want saved for that movie.
It's always more fun when you can go when the movie does something that surprises you.
Mm-hmm.
So
very true.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So that's your comic book news for the news. Let's go into space, shall we? And talk a little bit about Star Wars. Still clobbering it at theaters. I don't think they finally were dethroned last week, right? I think they. What movie was it? Anybody?
Was it finally? I didn't even realize they finally got dethroned.
Yeah. I think it was what movie? Anyways, we've got a couple of Star Wars stories. Episode 8 pushed back to December of 2017. It's from it was originally supposed to be released Memorial Day weekend of 2017. It'll now be released on December 15th that year. Instead, Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man Tell No Tales will open on May 26, 2017. Star Wars Old Home, the Pirates movie, was to have originally launched in theaters on July 7th. Disney insiders say the decision to push back the film's release comes after the blockbuster success of The Force Awakens over the year-end holidays, which I think it's smart to do that. They say they have now decided to give Episode 8 the same Christmas treatment. The move will also give more breathing room to Star Wars films because Rogue One comes out this December, and the way it was originally set up was there'd be like less than a year between Star Wars movies, which I think is smart as well because you don't want to overexpose Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Because that could happen, and I'm not even a Star Wars fan.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
To answer your question, this last week, Ride Along 2 is in the number 1 position. The Revenant was number 2, and number 3 was Star Wars.
Okay, all right. Still, though, I mean, if it was just a normal movie, it would have been out of theaters and off the top 5 a long time ago. But still 3. I mean, that's amazing. That's really amazing.
Yeah. Month at number 1 is not a bad thing.
No. With the new release date, by the way, they're going to be going up against the next.
Ready Player One, isn't it?
No, well maybe. I thought that was
Ready Player One is December of 2017.
Okay.
I just saw 2017. December is.
But also.
Oh, sorry, Dave. They come out the same day now.
Really?
Yep, December 15th, 2017.
Oh, that sucks. I was really looking forward to Ready Player One. I thought it was James Cameron's next series movie. Avatar, yeah. Why don't you check on that, Matt? When does the Avatar 2 come out?
They're all coming out on December 15th.
If it's December 25th, 2017.
Okay. So that's going to be that's a juggernaut of movies right there. You get your Avatar, your Star Wars 8, and Ready Player One. Jesus.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Well, I can guarantee you I won't be seeing Avatar 2.
Oh, come on.
I hated the first one. I fell asleep during the first one.
How did you fall asleep during Avatar?
I was bored out of my mind and my eyes shut themselves and I went to sleep.
Was it during the lovemaking scene with the tails and all that stuff?
No. I don't even think I made it that far.
Tails. Do you guys think it's a good idea to push back the release date of Star Wars Episode 8?
I think I read an article that it kind of separates things out a little bit more, which sounds like a kind of a good deal.
Yeah. But man, the same day as Ready Player One? That's
I wonder if that's part of the reason they did it.
Maybe.
But that's
Like a direct challenge to Ready Player One?
Yeah.
Spielberg. He has a long history with, Lucas, I guess. Lucas isn't really involved with Star Wars anymore.
No.
Directly, at least.
He sold those children to slavery, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oof.
All right, so the second big story of the week, and this is just a rumor so far, but the rumor is Harrison Ford may return for Star Wars Episode 8. Okay, this is a spoiler zone. If you haven't seen it, if you haven't seen Star Wars Episode 7,
Run away.
Yeah, run away.
Mute the button right now.
We are going to spoil the hell out of a certain part, probably the biggest part of the it's the biggest secret of the movie, and that is Harrison Ford, his character Han Solo, quote-unquote dies, gets killed by his son, Kylo Ren.
Who's a quote-unquote dick.
No, there's no quotes needed there.
Yeah, I don't
He's
think there's quotes needed anywhere there. It seems like.
He's a dick who needs anger management classes, apparently.
Or a
He's
hug.
Googly-eyed douche nozzle of the highest order.
Okay, just a sidebar. Did you guys see the Saturday Night Live Kylo Ren on the bus?
Yeah.
That was brilliant. It was really funny.
Dude, I knew you were Kylo Ren from like High on Chris.
Adam Driver, man, he's great.
You gotta love anyone who's willing to have a little fun at their own expense like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. If you gave me a dump truck full of money, I would make fun of myself all day.
You do it now.
Yeah, and I get paid nothing to do this.
That's where you went wrong.
Did you guys see the cat that looks like Adam Driver?
Yeah, did you see the Animorphs book cover that someone photoshopped?
No, but I'm going to look for it.
The what?
Yeah. Remember the Animorphs books?
No.
Oh, from the
So it was
90s?
like a person would turn into an animal.
Okay.
So someone made a book cover of Adam Driver turning into the cat.
That's awesome. Okay, so back to our story. Moviecastingcall.org, which posts casting news for actors, writes that the currently untitled Star Wars Episode 8 is looking for extras of all ages, and they also wrote, returning to reprise their roles in Star Wars Episode 8 is Golden Globe Award nominee Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron, Daisy Ridley as Rey, John Boyega, they spelled it wrong, Boyega as Finn, and Academy Award nominee Harrison Ford as Han Solo. So it either means that he survived that attempt at his life on the Starkiller base, or he's going to do the whole Obi-Wan Kenobi as a ghost thing, which I hope they don't do because, number one, that's just basically retreading old material.
The majority of 7 was kind of retreading old material.
Sort of.
Yeah, that's a slippery argument to have, Dave.
Yeah.
And that's coming from someone who doesn't know anything. But like even I saw the vast similarities, but my wife actually made a really valid point that that's the whole point. Is Darth Vader dies, someone else takes over. Kylo Ren will die, someone else will take over, and they'll just keep fighting the same battle forever and ever.
Yep.
But then this article also pointed out that if he does do the ghost thing, Obi-Wan was a Force wielder, right? And Han Solo's not. So how would he do the whole ghost thing? You know, would he just be a normal ghost? I guess.
I bet they're just screwing with everyone. They just like paid Harrison Ford an extra $10,000, so it's like we're gonna say you're in this one and just mess with everybody.
Yeah, that's possible. That's to get us schmucks like us start talking, you know. Or, you know, maybe they just. I mean, okay, he already made just like a ton more money than anybody else on that film, right? Like a lot more than anybody else.
Yep.
Probably, yeah.
How could they lure him back? I mean, double his. I mean, give him a lot more than what they gave him on Episode 7. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of thought that, you know, if it kind of felt like Harrison Ford's deal would have been, okay, I'll come back and do a Star Wars film, but you have to kill me. You have to kill the character.
I think that was his deal.
And that's what I thought it was too. So seeing this news, it's like, well, unless somebody just loaded up a semi-trailer full of cash and dumped it in his swimming pool.
Does he even need it at this point? I mean, in all honesty.
Yeah, exactly. So
he's probably living better than all of us combined just off the royalties he still gets from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
30 years ago.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I hear that he was supposed to die like before Return of the Jedi. Yeah. I think, or in Return of the Jedi, he was supposed to die.
I think that was the whole carbonite thing. The whole idea of freezing him in carbonite was to give an excuse why Han Solo wasn't around anymore.
Okay.
Because Harrison Ford just really did not want to do any more Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
So, and then they backed a truckload of money up and.
Yep. I guess that's how it works. I guess that would work for. I mean, you know, I'd love a lot of money.
If someone wants to give me a dump truck full of money, I won't say no.
To come back so he can kill you in a movie.
Yeah, I'll do what it takes. I don't care.
Deal the cash over here. Boop boop.
All right, that's your news. If you have any comments about any of the stuff that we talked about this week, please give us some feedback. Our email address is geeks@gncasts.com. That's geeks@gncasts.com. You can also make a comment on the blog because the podcast is a blog, essentially. So you go to the website and you comment on the episode there. Also, don't forget, we would really appreciate your help financially to support things such as our web hosting, where gncasts.com is on the web. We have to pay for that particular spot on the web, and you can help us with that. Or audio hosting by going to our Patreon page, patreon.com/galacticnetcasts, and you can pledge as little as $1 a month. But if you pledge more, you'll get some perks, some rewards, like $3 a month. You'll get a newsletter once a month with extra stories related to our podcasts. And then the $5 a month, you get an extra episode of each of our podcasts available exclusively to our patrons. Patrons.
Patrons?
Yeah, patrons. Patreon.com/galacticnetcasts is the page. So please go there and lend your support. We would really appreciate it. All right, so our big topic, big question of the week, we're going to talk about Peter's books. I thought that would be a good discussion because normally we try to cram in, talking about our guests' stuff either at the beginning and or end of the show. And he's done so many books, I'd really like to discuss in depth all about them. And we touched briefly at the top of the show. What was your first book, Peter?
My first book, and my first book that got published.
Your first, yeah, I guess your first book that got published because
First book that got published was X Heroes. It originally came out from a small press called Permuted back in 2010.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I wrote it over the summer of 2008. It sold on Christmas Eve. Or actually, I think it was the 23rd, December 23rd. I came home from a Christmas party and found an email saying the publisher wanted to buy the book. It was fun. And then, yeah, I did the X Heroes book, and I published 4 books through Permuted, and then I actually got contacted by an agent who wanted to rep me and put me in touch with some people at Random House. And Random House was very interested in the X Heroes series, and many people talked, and there were negotiations, and money changed hands, threats went back and forth over email, violence ensued, and then in the end we all shook hands, and the X Heroes series moved over to Random House. So
I guess that's how it works, right?
more or less, yeah. There was that's the cleaned up version. I left out all the parts where I was crying and
What inspired you to write the X Hero series to begin with?
it was a couple things. It was really what it was. Okay, sort of sequentially, I guess. I'm a big comic book fan from way back when, and about 10 years ago, we won't name names, but a certain comic publisher came out with a superhero zombies mashup miniseries, and I've been really looking forward to it because I saw something. I think it was in previews. There was a little mention of it, and they described it as a Romero-style zombie apocalypse happening in a superhero universe. And I was really excited for this, and I thought of all the cool things they could have. And then it came out, and I was just very disappointed in it. I know it was popular with a lot of people, and a lot of people really liked it, and they made a pile of money off it. But I just felt kind of let down, and like it didn't live up to the potential it really could have had, story-wise. And at the time, I had just started writing full-time, although at the time I was actually doing journalism, writing for a film magazine. And so one day I just pulled out a legal pad and started scribbling down like notes for the story I would have done of superheroes versus zombies. And that probably would have been it, except about 2 or 3 months after that, my girlfriend and I got a place together, and I finally had an actual office that you can see behind me, where I could start spreading all my crap out. And I had a couple boxes that I'd just been hauling around like forever. And in one of them I found a bunch of sketchbooks from when I'd been very little, like 10, 11, 12 years old, where I had made up tons of superheroes. Mm-hmm. And I realized all those superheroes I had made up back when I was a kid would actually... they were very basic archetypes, of superheroes. The armored superhero, the extreme Uberman superhero, the Dark Avenger superhero, all that sort of stuff. And so I realized I could actually tweak, modify, bring these up a bit from what they were when I invented them at age 11. And I could plug all these archetypes into that story I wanted to tell. And at the time, the publisher, Permuted, was a very small press at the time, and the guy who ran it literally was doing Permuted out of his garage, I think, or actually out of his living room, I think. That it was like, Permuted Press was a table in his living room that he worked on. And he'd had like 4 or 5 books out. His big hit at the time was Jailborn's Day by Day Armageddon. Started there. And so he would basically hold like a weekly chat where people who were interested in the press or wrote for the press would get together in our chat room and talk. And right there, that kind of tells you how long ago this was. But I mentioned to him, like, oh, I had this idea, because I wasn't really impressed with that comic book series. And he was like, oh, neither was I. And I was like, I had this really cool idea of like how you could do a cool superheroes versus zombies thing. And he said, oh, you should write it up. I'd love to read something like that. And so I went off and, like I said, spent the entire summer of 2008 working on it. And he actually confessed later that he just kind of didn't think about it because he was pretty sure there wasn't a cool way to do a superheroes versus zombies story. So he really wasn't expecting me to give him anything. Yeah, and I turned it, like I said, and I turned it in October. He really liked it and bought it, and things went from there. So
The rest is history.
yeah, as they say.
That's so awesome that you took characters that you drew as an 11-year-old, and then later on in life, you made them into a book that's successful. That's so cool, you know?
It's very cool. I mean, I like I said, one of the things was like I had to update a lot of stuff because obviously, you know, when I was an 11-year-old in, was it 1981, like a lot of the tech, the ideas, everything behind these characters. One notable thing is there were absolutely no female characters. Every superhero I made up was a guy, because as an 11-year-old, you know, why would anybody want to look at pictures of a woman in spandex kicking ass? You know, that's just silly. So yeah, almost every female character in the book was actually a male when I originally invented them when I was 11.
So, without giving away too much, can you give us a brief description of The Fold? I mean, I love that book. And I could explain it, but I think you'd probably explain it a lot better than I could.
I can try. Without being spoiled, The Fold is about a guy named Mike who has a lot of special gifts and mental abilities, not like in a telepathic sense, but just in a memory IQ sense, which he's been avoiding for most of his life because he doesn't want to be different. He doesn't want to be special. He just wants to be like everyone else. And he finally gets lured in from his best friend, has gone on with life, and ended up being a project head at DARPA. So basically he has a little problem that he's been having with a project and convinces Mike to come check it out, which is essentially that a group of scientists in San Diego have invented teleportation. And it works. And they've done it, they've tested it, they've shown it, and they don't want to release it to anybody. And so basically they want Mike to go and figure out what's going on, what are they hiding, is there a problem, and basically, as things always do in stories involving teleportation, things start going horribly wrong. I actually had a very early reviewer of it say that it was a horror novel disguised as a sci-fi mystery, and I thought that was a nice way to put it, so I've always liked that.
No, it was after I got a chance to read it. I think my wife was still working at the bookstore, so she got an advanced copy. So I read it before it was actually out.
Nice.
But then I kept on seeing it all over the place. I'm like, I was so proud of the fact that I had read this book that's now like just being sold. Like every place I looked, I saw The Fold. I'm like, that's so cool.
It was my first hardcover. It's freaky as hell to me. And it was a book I struggled with a little bit. So I still have worries about it because I'm sort of on that side of, you know, watching the sausage get made. It kind of kills your appetite a bit. And so now I'm obviously very thrilled. I actually just found out yesterday it is up for a Bram Stoker Award.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
It is on the preliminary ballot. It's not a nominee yet. Fingers crossed. But yeah, it's up for Best Novel. So
Congratulations.
Good luck.
I'm going to get slaughtered because honestly, Paul Tremblay's Head Full of Ghosts is just amazing. And Clive Barker's got a book out, and he's on the list too. So I'm not going to win. Absolutely not. But I'd be really happy just to be able to stay Stoker nominated. So.
Yeah, definitely. So real quick, before we move on, what's the eerie adventures of Lycanthrope Robinson Crusoe? Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah. That is actually the second book I ever wrote. Back when I had just done X Heroes, before X Heroes even came out, I was in another one of those chat rooms that I was just talking about with the publisher, and we were talking about at the time, everyone was really into the mashup novels. You know, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies had just come out, Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters, Vampire Hunter Abraham Lincoln, all of those things that just came out again and again and again. And so we started bouncing around things. Oh, what would make a cool mashup? What about this? What about this? What about this? And I can't remember exactly how. The idea I finally ended up with was, what if Robinson Crusoe was a werewolf? And so actually getting stranded on this island where he can't hurt anybody, he sees as a godsend. That this is a great thing that I've been stranded here. And then I took it one step further because what the hell? And I figured, what if it's the worst island possible to be stranded on? So it's also an H.P. Lovecraft mashup.
Oh.
And so and the other thing, of course, was that I didn't want it to be a comedy book. That one thing I saw with a lot of the mashups, that they were all kind of spoofs and tongue-in-cheek. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's really cool that people have done this and made a lot of these things very entertaining. But I tried really hard. I wanted it to be a serious novel, or at least as serious as you can be when you're sticking werewolves and the elder gods into one of the oldest novels in English literature. So I did all that, and I put it out, and I studied Daniel Defoe's style of writing and everything. And eventually I wrote what turned out to be an early 18th century horror novel. And the downside, as I then found out, was that I had written an early 18th century horror novel, and there wasn't really a huge market for those anymore. So, yeah, the Crusoe novel didn't really do much. It became like a little oddity, but it's actually still with Permuted. And they decided, since, I guess as they would say, my star has ascended a bit since then, they're actually putting it out in a new edition, and it's actually a really gorgeous edition. They did a beautiful job with the layouts and everything. So that's actually getting re-released in March. So
nice. Got a couple of months Peter Clines books being released and re-released. That's awesome.
All over the place. And the Fold comes out in paperback that month too. So
where can people find out more information about your books, or where can people order your books?
I mean, you can order them pretty much anywhere. Walk into your local bookstore. Most of my stuff is with Random House, so it's everywhere. With Crown Publishing, technically, subsection of Random House. But most of my stuff's with Crown. It's at your local bookstore. It's on Amazon. It's at Barnes & Noble. It's in airports. I don't know, that wire rack down at 7-Eleven, whatever. And yeah, so there's that. And you can, if I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, and I'm always probably spewing stuff about, oh my god, because I'm just always amazed that people are actually putting my books out. So.
All right, Peter, thank you very much for breaking down your books. And
no problem.
A little behind-the-scenes information about them. But let's do our recommendation segment. And I know that you want to get out of here by 11 o'clock.
I got a couple minutes.
Okay, because we have very important events going on today, because Legends of Tomorrow premieres today. And of course, Peter, as you know from listening, is a huge comic book fan, and I think we're all looking forward to that. So I'm guessing that next week is going to be that's going to be the pick for one of us on the show. Guessing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead with mine, and then we'll do Peter's, and then if Brad and Matt have an addition that they don't have on the doc yet, we can throw in those after that. So my recommendation is a YouTube channel called Comics Explained. And for a guy like me who, as people of the podcast would know from listening, and Brad knows this very well, 5 years ago when we started Galactic Netcasts, I didn't know DC from Marvel. I wasn't a comic book fan at all, pretty much, or a superhero fan. And I still haven't read that many books, but from how I learn about comic books, the history, the stories, is through things like YouTube channels, like I've talked about on the Sci-Fi Geeks Club before. Emergency Awesome. They do. He does reviews of TV shows. like Arrow and The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow and Gotham, all that kind of stuff. But he also does, or there's another YouTube channel that I watch, and it's Variant, and they basically break down comic books and comic characters as well. But Comics Explained does detailed explanations. Like, he goes on for 15 minutes talking about either certain books or certain characters, or he's also got like the pull lists of the week, what books are coming out. But the things that I wanted to talk about to highlight his channel this week is a couple of explanation or origin story or character explanation videos. And the first one was Kamala Khan, and that's Ms. Marvel, right, Brad? Kamala
Yes.
Khan? Okay. And she's actually a fairly recent character within the last couple of years, I think.
Like a year and a half, I think, since they introduced her.
Yeah, and it's awesome because she is a Muslim American. She practices Islam, and it's cool to have, and she's a girl, so it's cool to have like a what's the word I'm looking for? It's been a long week. To have an example for young girls, especially young Muslim girls in North America, to have, or the world. Role model. Thank you very much. To have a role model like her to look up to as inspiration for their own lives, and it was really neat to find out how she became a superhero, why she became a superhero, who her role models were, and how she kind of intertwines her faith and her cultural background into her character as Ms. Marvel. And I really hope that they do more with the character, possibly live action sometime down the line, because I think it would be a really good way for people to realize that Islamic people and Muslims, there's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be fearful of. They're people just like you and me. If you and I are not Muslim. So the second explainer video that I wanted to talk about on his channel is the Justice League, and I figured I'd learn about the Justice League a little bit more before the movie comes out. And I mean, I already knew about the Justice League and basically the origins of it as the Justice Society of America, how they rebooted it in the 1950s. So they kind of he kind of goes into all the different versions of the Justice League, Silver Age, pre-crisis, post-crisis. I don't think he goes as far as New 52, but he goes pretty recently with the Justice League. So that's my recommendations. You can check it out, youtube.com/fluidbeats. No, Fluidic Beats is his. But just go onto YouTube and search for Comics Explained. They're quite long, detailed videos. So if you want to know about a certain character or a certain book, he does a very good job explaining in great detail about them. So check it out. That's my recommendation. Peter,
Okay.
what did you bring?
What I shamelessly, of course, have to push my own book, Exile. Comes out in 2 weeks, like I said. But other than that, actually, I would love to push a book. It came out last year, but it didn't seem to catch with a lot of people. Didn't, at least not that I could tell, get a lot of press. The Library at Mount Char. I don't know if you've heard of it. And I just saying that completely blanked on the author's name, which makes me feel like an ass. But it's a very Neil Gaiman-esque type book. It's about a woman who you basically find out was taken from her family at a young age, and with 11 other children, they all live in a library, this huge, very cosmic library, and each one of them has their specific field of study that they must learn. For example, one of them must learn about war. The main character must learn languages, and she can speak every language on Earth. There's one of the kids has to learn about death. One of the kids has to learn about nature. And it's just it starts off a little slow, but as it gets going and picks up steam, it just becomes this amazing, one of those great stories that borders somewhere between sci-fi and complete fantasy, and it's fantastic. So I highly recommend Library at Mount Char, if you haven't already heard of it. So
Sounds interesting.
get it. And actually, I'm getting a high sign. I must leave, I'm afraid. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
No, that's okay. No, that's Peter. Thank you very much for coming on. I'm glad that we were able to discuss your books in detail. And one more time, where can people find you online?
Twitter, I'm at Peter Clines. There's a Facebook page, which is actually run by me, which is also just Peter Clines. Pictures of me trying to look authorly on both of them. So I'm easy to find, and I love talking to people. So if you find me there, it will actually be me answering you.
Awesome.
So,
well,
cool.
Good luck in the future. Can't wait to read your books. I'm going to read all of them, so looking forward to that. And thanks for coming on, Peter.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me, guys. I've had a lot of fun.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. All right, Brad, Matt, do you have any kind of science fiction recommendation this week?
Not science fiction.
Do you have what do you got?
Well, I honestly, I've been catching up on finding new bands, which I listen to a style of music that everyone hates, and watching a lot of workout stuff on YouTube. To be perfectly honest.
So weird.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm totally the oddball in this entire situation, but 30 years of treating my body poorly, it's catching up to me, so I'm trying to fix it.
Well, you're looking good, my friend. Looking
Thanks. Thanks. As I drink beer.
Oh, you should talk about the beer that you're drinking tonight.
Oh! I'm drinking, it's the Cannibal Corpse and Three Full-Aids beer called Amber Smashed Face.
And if people don't know, Cannibal Corpse is a band.
Yeah, Cannibal Corpse is probably one of the most notable death metal bands ever. I don't think they're very good. The song Hammer Smashed Face, which the beer is named after, is actually the song... Okay. In Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, when he walks into that venue and there's that really crappy death metal band playing, that's Cannibal Corpse. They are playing Hammer Smashed Face at that point in the movie.
Okay.
Nice.
Good reference. Thank you.
Yeah. But a lot of their songs and all of their imagery is like super grotesque, and that's what they're really most known for.
Well, when you're a band called Cannibal Corpse, that's kind of setting the tone.
Yeah, the singer actually left and started another crappy metal band called 6 Feet Under.
Oh, I've heard of them.
Yeah. That's my life.
Well, also different folks. No, how's it
Different
go?
strokes for
Different strokes
folks.
for different folks.
Yeah, variety is the spice of life. Things that make the world go round, that kind of thing.
It's what makes the not demographic. It's what makes Galactic Netcasts fun.
Yeah.
We're all nerds in our own right. You guys are comic book nerds. I'm a music nerd.
Your music and your horror film.
Yes.
And paranormal nerd.
Yeah.
Love to skip.
Yeah, you forgot to mention that we do Weird World Weekly before. I was a little upset.
Yeah, I forgot. I don't know. Maybe I take that podcast for granted. I shouldn't. It's great.
I've gotten a lot of really good feedback on it. You know, a lot of people who don't really ever listen to our podcasts.
I listened to that podcast.
Yeah, I have a buddy of mine listened to Podcast of Terror simply because we had Matt Vincent on, and then from there ended up listening to Weird World Weekly because he's a big conspiracy nut too. So
yeah, we really cover the gamut when it comes to anything weird, strange, unusual, unexplained. I mean, we talk about hauntings, but then we come back and talk about the hums or the weird noises that people hear around the world, or like the Devil's Triangle in the Pacific Ocean, that kind of thing. Or
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is.
I enjoy it.
Check it out. It's all at gncasts.com. Brad, do you have any kind of sci-fi or non-sci-fi recommendation? Does it could be either?
The only thing that I can think of is what we talked about in Alien Invasion, Robot Overlords.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Yep.
Check it out, everybody. It's written. The film is written by a former guest of the Sci-Fi Geeks Club,
Mark Stay.
Yeah. So go back and listen to that episode, and then watch the movie,
Absolutely.
or the other way around. All right. Thanks, guys. Let's do quick feedback from one person, Daryl. Daryl. Not only does Daryl give us feedback, but he also hosts a Doctor Who podcast on the Galactic Netcast Network. So
Heck yeah, he does.
So he made a comment about something that we discussed on the last episode of the Sci-Fi Geeks Club. He actually commented on the website, which you can do. You can go to our episodes on gncasts.com and make comments that way. So he wrote, I was willing, Dave, to mention the Ian McKellen rebooted version of The Prisoner and was so pleased when he did it. It will be interesting to see what a film could be like, although I doubt anything could touch the original. If ever you guys visit the UK and find yourselves in Wales, then make sure you visit, how do you pronounce that word, Brad? Port Miriam?
I think you're right.
Yeah, Port Miriam in North Wales. The village number 6 tries to escape from. It's a popular village for filming such sci-fi things as The Prisoner, Doctor Who, and The Tripods.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I watch The Tripods all the time.
I watch Doctor Who nonstop.
Shut it.
Lies.
I love Doctor Who so little.
You know what? We should make a new podcast called Let's Make Matt Watch Every Single Doctor Who episode possible.
Well, you started doing that with the Sci-Fi Film School.
I know. Yeah, we did. We watched Rose, the first rebooted one from 2005. Yeah.
I want to make a podcast that's just called Shut It, Matt.
I want a cooking podcast. I feel like we need a couple more. We need to cover a couple more genres of life. We need cooking and maybe a pottery.
Okay. Basket weaving, perhaps.
See? I took textiles and fibers in high school, mostly because it was 98% girls.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not as dumb as I look. I knew what I was getting into.
If you want to argue with Matt on that, leave us some feedback. geeks@gncasts.com. I was trying to be funny. Sorry, I didn't mean to offend.
No, not at all. You should know by now that my job is derailing podcasts. Corey's very good at getting me back on track. Everyone, that's what I do.
Yeah,
Sorry, dude.
You're disruptive. That's what you are. You're a disruptive individual.
I like to disrespect my surroundings.
Yeah, you're a rebel. You're a anarchist.
I don't even know why I still have a shirt on. Sorry.
Please don't
Fair
take
enough.
it off.
I'm going to.
805-328-3966, 805-328-3966 is the voicemail. Leave a message there. Subscribe to this podcast via iTunes. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and write a review. We're also on Stitcher Smart Radio. You can leave a comment on this episode there as well. All subscription options and links can be found under the subscribe tab at gncasts.com. Thanks again to Peter Clines for being our guest. Check out his books. And thank you guys for being on, Matt and Brad.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Have a sci-fi week.
You too.
What the hell just happened?
I don't
You guys
know.
turned into nerds since I've been here last.
Hey.
All right. I'm Dave Nelson on behalf of Brad, Corey, Matt. Hang on. I know that you're here, but we have to do this. Where is it? Right there. Right here.
Bye, Dad.
Say it in real life.
Bye, Dad.
There you go.
Anessa, Gregor, JF, and Peter, we will talk to you guys next time.
Bye, Dave.
Bye, Dad.